programming life where you struggled a lot but learned a lot. Can you go and talk to our students some of the experiences?
In programming, in starting, you will face a lot of problems. When I start in programming, I start in second year. So I go to the code chef and start solving some problems. Then I was written code in C. Then I just got to know I need to write code in C++. So I have no experience of C++. So how to start C++ writing code? So I start writing code C in, C out. That's it. I know only C in, C out in C++. Rest all code I write in C and then C in, C out. That's it. Then I got to know the hash map. Then I study hash map in C++. It is a pretty useful thing. And then I start giving some online competition, and you will learn a lot when you compete in online. Like Code Chef organize 3 or 4 contests in a month, and similar to that, Code Forces also organize 2 to 4 contests in a month, where you can check your knowledge. In highest, I rank 800 worldwide in a contest. So you can, it's a very fantastic thing to test your knowledge worldwide. Yeah, this is the thing I can share with you.
Well, that's wonderful. I think so. You see, while what happens when you participate in these things, then you understand that how you stand with respect to others, right? Now, that is one thing. And second thing is that this also gives you a platform to understand your weaknesses, know which areas you need to work hard. At the end of the day, these are all programs, right? So you will be able to understand your strength areas, weaknesses. And in my opinion, that also gives you an opportunity to know what others are doing, which you are not doing, right? That is very important.
Yes. And for that contest, we have a friend of 10 to 15 students, and we virtually participate and make a contest type environment, and we virtually participate in the nights so that we can perform well in the online contest.
100%. Yeah. Okay. So Deepak, what's your plan? Deepak Singh?
Yeah. Yes, sir. So we can start. We will start now with the previous leaderboard, and while other students join us, so it's good to just cover that portion. So and then we'll jump right away to the session.
Cool.
So guys, I hope you are excited because we have a lot of names this time and a lot of new names as well. So yeah, requesting our team member Deepak Gudem to just to display that on screen. Can we reduce the volume a bit? If you can hear me, can we reduce the volume a bit?
So you can announce the names now.
Yeah. So we have Manish R, who has topped the chart. And congratulations to you, Manish. And then at the same score, we have Kushala. So, I mean, just so you are, if any of you wonder, if you have scored 18 or somebody else has, multiple people have scored 18, then who has given the higher rank? So it's just an automated system, and whoever finishes the quiz first and scores the highest, that's how the rank comes. So, Manish, Kushala, Meghna, Vijetha, D. Hariharan, Sanjay, Harish, all of you have scored 80. It's just the difference between a couple of seconds or minutes when you might have submitted it. So, guys, congratulations. It's a great feat. And it's good to see some new names as well. Deepak, can we continue? And then we have Aaron Dominic Franklin, we have Etrivel, we have Stephen, we have Rubia, Arti, Aditya A, Mario Francis George, Livesha, Bhumika, and Gautam. So guys, congratulations to you as well. Very close, just one score below. And I mean, a lot of names are have been common throughout the quiz course, which is a very good deal that shows your dedication into this entire process and exercise. And also the new names that pop up is a very good indication to us, our experts here, Rishin, Praveen sir, Deepak Chaudhary. So it's a good sign for us also, because when we see new names, we see that, you are also getting hold of what we are teaching here. So great job, all of you. Yes, Deepak, we can continue. So once again, congratulations, all of you. A lot of names up there, and I'm sure other students who might have missed their name on the chart will be able to pull that up in this session quiz that will begin after the end of this session. Also, as you all know, we have polls in between the sessions, so make sure you are attentive to that. They also have a lot of value when we are giving you the certifications in the end of the entire exercise. So Rishin, once again, thank you for joining in. I'm sure it gives you a lot of pleasure to see so many people on the leaderboard scoring 19, 18, 17. Today 18 and 17 were leading in the front. And yeah, the session is over to you. Please go on. Let's have a great session today.
Thank you, Deepak Singh. Thank you, Deepak Chaudhary and Praveen sir, of course. Before starting the session, I would like to quote what Praveen sir just said before, that is, you have to earn the fund that you get in your life. So obviously, this is one part of your journey that will help you earn fun in the future. And
yeah, thanks, Rishan. I agree.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So I think you can see my screen. And so before starting today's session, we'll be discussing 2 questions of the previous quiz, which were frequently got wrong. So obviously it is so important for us to discuss. And the question number 6 is, which among the following is false with respect to IMPL blocks? So we are asked to find what is the false statement. If you see, the first statement says that each struct is allowed to have multiple IMPL blocks, and it is a true statement. We can write multiple IMPL blocks for a single struct. Now, each method in its own IMPL block. That means when we define a function, we actually place it in an IMPL block. Okay, so that particular function is actually present in this particular IMPL block. So each function or method, each method is present in its own IMPL block. The next parameter is that next option is the first parameter may be self. So it is actually not important that the first parameter inside a function should be self. It is not important. Why? Because you can still write functions that take input in a different way rather than having the self. Okay. You can just write a function add x equal to I32, y equal to I32 and returns I32, which is an example that we did in the first or second session, I guess. So you can pass any kind of parameter in a function that is actually defined in an IMPL block. It is not mandatory that you should always have the first parameter as self. Okay, and that is your right option. And the next question of discussion is question number 18. Okay, question number 18. And in this question, we did have a mistake in this question, and that is mainly because of the error in the source from which we collected this question. So the problem was here, this question, if you see to this question in a logical approach, then you know that let my color is equal to color red, and obviously it is matching my color, so it should return red, right? The color is red should be your first statement, and then the second statement is other color equal to blue, and other color is println, and obviously the colors are same. So what happens here is that the colors are different, and here it will match the color is red, and here it will say the colors are different. So that should have been our option, but then there was an issue. The issue is that we have not implemented the partial EQ trait for comparing this. If you see here, like if my color is equal to other color, right? So we have tried to compare them by using a equal to operator, but then it is not possible if we do not implement the trait corresponding to that type. So this is a different type. You see, this is an enum. Okay, for enum comparisons, we need to like either check each of its values, or to compare it like this in Rust, we actually require trait implementation, and there is no definition of the implementation in this code. So obviously it will return you with an error, and we do apologize for such a mistake, but then yes. So that is the consideration. But then while discussing the fifth session, we'll be discussing what is the importance of traits, and why it is so mandatory for us to implement the traits for data structures or types like enums and etc. Okay. With that being said, we can go to today's session. That is the fourth session of Introduction to Rust Programming. I do believe that you guys are trying out what we learned here, because it is so important for you to learn Rust. But then looking at the assignments, I do think that you're doing well, because most of you have learned a lot of concepts and your code seems pretty much nice. That's a good start. So go on, keep the Josh, and try as much as examples as possible. With Rust, you can actually turn out to be a great programmer, because now in Rust, you know, you would have to implement the memory save, thread save, and all these things should be kept in mind before writing any piece of code, because obviously Rust is going to reject literally 75% of code that you write with a normal approach. And so although it is a pretty much a difficult learning curve, but then obviously the code that we write in is safe at the end of the day, and that is more and very much important for any kind of company or for you as a software developer. So with that being in the first priority, or that being the first consideration, it is very important for us to learn a language like Rust, which implements memory safety and other considerations, as we have discussed in the first session. So in today's session, we'll be discussing mainly two concepts, and that is collections and error handling concepts. And as Praveen sir just mentioned before, error handling is very, very important because, you know, it is always important for us to find the bugs in a large piece of code, because at the end of the day, you'll have a production level software having 14 to 15 gigabytes or even larger gigabytes so in memory, and you have to find the corresponding file which is causing the error. Then a better way of writing code is to implement error handling in the code, because then your code would be robust and reliable, which is very, very important and vital for software engineers these days. Because we can see a curve of most of the development side uh, doing a programs. The programs do have a lot of bugs these days because of extensive agile development of but then it is very important for us to implement error handling into our code, because it helps anyone to work with your code and also helps us to realize where is the error. It saves us a lot of time at the end of the day. Okay. So before getting into error handling, we'll be discussing collections, but then there are a lot of collections in Rust. We do not have the time to discuss everything. So we have just sorted out our collections into three important things, and that is vector, string, and then hash map. Okay. So we'll be discussing about all these things here. Before that, what is collections? So collections allow us to have multiple values. So it is not scalar. Scalar only allows you to have a single data, but then collections allow you to have a multiple values. Okay. Collections are stored in heap. This is one more other important point that you need to know, that is collections are stored in heap. So we do not have to know its size at the compile time. Choosing appropriate collection is the skill that you will build over time. And this is one of the things that Deepak Chowdhury has mentioned. As you work on different sites like Hotchef, HackerRank, you know what is the best data structure or what is the best algorithm that you need to apply in order to complete the process with the shortest time possible, to save maximum memory as possible, etc. and etc. So as long as you practice more and more, obviously it's going to be an easy task. So from this concept, we would like to have a very small quiz. It's going to be easy because we just discussed collections right now. Okay. I'm going to launch the quiz. Make sure you're going to try it out. Yes. Guys, please go on and participate in the quiz. The poll. It's going to be literally easy. We have just discussed 5 or 6 points and it's an easy win. So try it. Sudeep has sir, this is my first class. Which course is this? Well, Sudeep, this is the introduction to Rust programming class, and welcome to you. If you have missed the previous classes, do watch the YouTube where we have hosted the previous recorded videos. So you guys have 90 seconds. Please, we need maximum participation. So come on and answer. Oh, well, Pomit Sujita Ishwaran has asked how to get input from the user. Okay, so that is a very important question, how to get input from the user. Well, in our syllabus, we will not be discussing, but then as you have asked, obviously, we'll be discussing how to get input from the user in today's session. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, we'll discuss about it in today's session. And thanks for the question. So we'll be closing the poll and I'll be sharing the results with you. So the first question, 77% has got it right. That is, collections can only have a single value. Obviously, a collection allows us to have multiple values. So the answer is false. And the next question was collections are stored in. We just discussed it and most of you have got it right. Like 46% has got it right. It is heap. And my friends, yeah, you got it right. That is heap. Because collections are stored in heap, and that is one of the reasons why, because we don't not have to know its size at compile time, and it allows us to know the size at the execution time, which is very, very important. Okay, and that is why we do use collections more than the standard data structures like arrays and str example, because then we need to limit the size, which is not possible in all other cases. Okay, so collections are stored in heap. I do think you have got the point. Now I'm start sharing the answers and yes, someone else. Okay. So before getting into the vectors, I would like to address the question that how to get user input in Rust. Well, it is easy. First of all, what you need to do is, I think you can see my screen, right? Yeah. So, so first, before taking any input, we would like to type in a prompt, println, enter a string. Okay. So now the terminal has got a message called enter a string. And now we need to get the string from the terminal. Okay. From any of the keyboard input, you need to get this. So you need to create a string variable called let mute line equal to string new. So what it does is it creates a string variable. Okay. And now we have created a string variable that is mutable called line. And now what we will do is you need to use stdio. Stdio is the standard input output operations right that you need to access and in order to take input from the user. Now what we will do is io stdin dot read underscore line and then pass and mute line dot expect, and I'll just discuss what these things stand for, right? Error in taking input. Okay. Now println the input was line. Okay. We'll see is there any error. No. Okay, we are not seeing any kind of error. Like see what is the output. Okay. And then we will discuss how it came up to such a code. The taking input is actually a pretty more like you need to write more code. So yeah, enter a string, like say hello world. So the input was hello world. So we read a string from the terminal and then we have just printed it in the terminal. So now this line has got the input. So first we create a line. A line is actually a string variable, and then you need to use this IOSTDIN. This IOSTDIN stands for the input standard input function that helps you to take the input from the user. And then you need to use the read line and mute line. So read line is the function that corresponds us to read this line into this variable called a line. Okay. And then we will have a dot expect. What does this dot expect stand for? Because in case if you have, it is impossible, like we couldn't collect the input, this error message will be shown up on the screen. Okay, so we'll be discussing about the expect in today's session. We'll be also discussing about the strings in today's session, so you don't have to worry about that. But then this is how we take an input in Rust by creating a line and then reading it out. And this is something that you need to learn. That is, it is up to you, because IOSTDN dot read line and then and mute line dot expect error. So this is actually a somewhat difficult when compared to Java or C++, where you can just write C in, C out, or in printf in C, in Python, etc., where you can actually do these things easily. But then in Rust, it has got a bit lengthy implementation. But then the question is, how can we take a number input if we are only allowed to take a string? So let me say let x, which is an i32, is equal to my line dot prim dot parse dot expect error in parsing. Okay, so this allows me to convert this line into corresponding i32. So now I can enter a number. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a string input and then parse it into integer. Okay, that is i32. For that, I need to first trim the extra white spaces using the trim space. and then the pairs function that will convert it into I32. And then if in case there is an error occurred, then obviously it will show error in parsing. So what let us see what happens with this code. It will allow me to enter a number. Okay, split out. Yeah, enter a number 5. And thread main panic that. Oh, okay, I think 5. Okay, now the input was 5. Okay, so this is how the system works. Okay, the number log was present. That is why we got it wrong right now. Okay, so I enter a number and the input was 5. Okay, this is how we then like take integer inputs in case of taking inputs. I think that should have solved your doubt. So we'll go to the concepts back. Now, vectors. So vectors are actually a dynamic array. So what do you mean by dynamic array? So in case of array, you need to have a specified length for the array at the compile time. So when you define an array, you just define the number of elements that the array can take at the compile time. But in case of vectors, it is actually a dynamically growing array. So you don't have to specify its size at the compile time. Okay. So it is as simple as that. Vectors allow us to store multiple values of the same data. You need to keep this in mind, that is vectors only allow you to take multiple values of the same data type. You cannot have values of different data types. So it is similar to array. And it can be referred to as a dynamically growing array. It is another important point. Now, how to create a new vector? Well, actually, you have two ways to create a new vector. The first approach is let y equal to vec I32. You can actually specify the data type or not, because Rust can identify the data type. And then you need to use a vec new. Okay, just look at the syntax. You need to have a capital V and then vec new. Okay, that is one way of creating the object of this vec, and then you can utilize it. But there is another easy way of creating the vec, and that is by using the vec macro. Okay, so macros help us in doing things more faster, and that is why. So we have a vec macro, which is like let mute v equal to vec macro, and then you just type 1, 2, 3. So you can just create a vector using the vec macro. Now, we have operations in vectors, which includes inserting a value, and the standard operation to insert a value into a vector is push 5, or like push any kind of value. So v dot push the value that you want to pass into the vector. In a similar way, vectors. Okay, what happens to the next? Yeah. So that is how we pass a value into the vector. Now, to read a value from a vector, we can use two methods. And the first method is let third. That is, if you, this is an example, so try to understand the example. So what we do is an and I32, and we pass an and v2. So what is happening here is we are taking a reference of one of the element. Okay, so we are taking the reference of one of the element. And there are actually two methods to get like particular value from the vector. And the first method was to take a reference. Why are we taking reference? Because we do not want to take the ownership. If you take the ownership, then you are losing the value. So you will take a reference. The other method is to use the get function, that is v dot get, and then provide the index inside the get function. So as soon as you provide the index, Rust compiler checks whether there is a value. If there is a value, then it will return a some value. It will return a some value and not the value itself. Or if it is a none, then it will return none. But what is the use of using the get function or the ampersand or the reference? So I want you to imagine a vector having 10 elements. Let's say its elements are from 1 to 10. It is a vector of I32. But then you want to access an element which has an index of 12. This is not possible, right? Because you do not have an element at the 12th index. So what happens when you try to like let 12th and I32 is equal to and v12? So if you are going to type and v12, it is going to panic because you do not have a value at that location. So what we will do instead is we will use v.get, and then we will try to implement a match statement against this returned option. So we have discussed in the previous session regarding option, as option allows you to have two set of values, and that is the sum value and then the none value. So the sum value says that it has got some value at the location or at the index 12, and the value is present in this sum. So we can use the match statement to retrieve that value. And this is how we do it. So sum third equal to println, the third element is third. So you can write like sum y equal to println, the 12th element is y. It is simple. And what in case of none? So we don't want our code to panic even in case of none. So in case of none, we will say that there is no 12th element or there is no third element. Anyway, so if you cannot access a particular element, then this code allows you to handle such a situation rather than panicking abruptly. Okay. Now, that's what we'll just try to discuss. That the get method can handle the none case when we try to access an element out of bounds in vector, and that is one of the safest method to be implemented in case of vectors. So I believe you have got these concepts regarding vectors. That is, we create a vector using a vecnew or a vector macro, and then we push functions into it by using the push function. Okay, so and after some of the discussion, we will see an implementation of vectors, which might as well as help you to understand it more thoroughly. There is another interesting case, that is, let mute vec equal to vec 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let first is equal to and v0. What happens here? We are actually creating an immutable borrow, right? And means a reference, so we are creating an immutable borrow as the first is actually immutably defined. Now we are trying to do a v.push 6. So we are trying to mutate the vector while keeping an immutable borrow. And this code will generate an error. Why will it generate an error? So let me say, why will it generate? So just imagine you have a vector and you have 5 values in it, and you have a reference to the 0th indexed value. So you're actually the first is actually containing a pointer, an address that points to the vector in the heap, and you're going to add a new element. So what happens when you add a new element? When you add a new element, the vector size should dynamically grow. So now its size should be much greater than 6 in order to accommodate 6 elements. But vectors don't work in such a way like arrays do. So what it does is, whenever you change its size, it will relocate its position from the current location to a new location where it has got enough space to accommodate all the values. So I want you to imagine, like initially the vector will have a size by default, I guess it is 4. And then if the elements actually increase, like gets more than 4, obviously an example would be 5, then it will double its size. It will double it to 8. And then it cannot actually increase its size at the corresponding memory where it is present right now. What it will try to do is, it will try to search for another free location which can have space for 8 elements to be stored. And then it will transfer the entire vector. It will copy paste the entire vector to this new location. Okay, but then what happens with the first? The first actually has an address to its old location of the vector, but then the vector has been moved from here to here. And now what is this first pointing to at such a condition? Okay, so when we have an immutable borrow to any element of the vector, we cannot push or we cannot edit that vector, because in case what happens is, it will be translocated to another location, and the immutable borrow, the reference, will be pointing to a none. Okay, so we don't want such a thing to happen, and that is actually explained in the third and fourth point much deeply. Okay, so error is due to the way vector works, because vectors put the values next to each other in memory, and adding a new element onto the end of the vector might require allocating new memory and copying the old elements to the new space. And if there isn't enough room to pull out the elements next to each other where the vector is currently stored, in that case, the reference to the first element would be pointing to a deallocated memory, and borrowing rules prevent us from ending up at such a situation. So in C, that kind of a situation could be allowed. In C++, in C++, it because you don't have vectors in C. Yeah. So in C++, such kind of a situation could be allowed. So you need to implement that case by default. Like you shouldn't be allowed to access, or else the code will panic, right? But in Rust, it actually considers these case beforehand, which is actually nice. Okay. With that being said, you'll see iterating or values in a vector. Okay, so how can you iterate or values in a vector? This is the question. So it is like a simple normal approach of doing it with the arrays. All you need to do is for I in V, but then you cannot take the ownership. So you don't want to take the ownership. Then what you will do is for I in and V. So what are you trying to do? You're trying to take a reference. You're trying to take a reference, and then you will print the contents using this approach. So let V equal to vec. You're creating a vec. And then for I in and V, that means you're taking the reference and then you're going to print the elements. Okay. So to change the contents, it is a similar approach, which is again easy. There is not much to explain. Okay. So this is easy. All you need to do is just, but then to change the contents, you see, you'll most probably write for I in and V, and you'll just write star I plus equal to 50. But then the Rust compiler will prompt you and say that in order to change its contents, you need to make both the vector as mute, and also the reference needs to be mutable in order to change the values. So we need to take a mutable borrow in case of changing the values or in case of updating the values. Okay. And why are we using the star here? So actually the I at this moment is actually a pointer. Okay. For I in and mute V means and mute V is actually a pointer, but then you don't want to change the pointer, you want to change its corresponding value. So star means dereferencing. That means this and is referencing and star is dereferencing. Okay. So when you use a dereferencing operator, what happens is that it will take the corresponding value that the pointer points to, and then it will change it to, or it will increment it by 50. Okay. So what happens here is each element in the vector will be incremented by 50. That is the answer. Now, before the implementation, we would like to go into a simple quiz. I want everyone of you to try this poll. And vectors poll second. Yes. I have launched a question. This is all about the theory things that we have discussed here. So you'll be given 90 seconds. Friends, please do attend the question. Don't be shy. Try to answer it as much as possible. Yeah, we have come to the deadline for the polls too. Yes, I'm going to end the poll and I will share the results with you. So the first question, 46% of you have got it right. And we have discussed this question before. That is, which of the following is the safest method to access the element of index 0 from a vector V? As I've just mentioned before, you need to use the .get function because that allows you to implement an match statement for the corresponding get. So the get will return an option I32, and then you can create a match statement for both the cases, that is sum as well as the none. Okay. Then the second question is, we can use the vec macro to create a vector. Well, the answer is true. We can create a vector using a vec macro. So I'll stop sharing and then we'll go to the next concept. And before going to the next concept, we will see how to create and like how to push. This is obvious, but then we will do a simple implementation for those of who you want to see. Okay. So the first process is to create a vector. So just let v is equal to vec new. Okay. So this allows us to create a vector, but then the problem is you cannot mutate this as we have not placed the mute. So now I can place a mute v, and then if in case you can give the type, but then we will try we push 5. So we push 5. What does this do is basically we push 5 will push the value v into the vector. Println is v. Okay, we'll just try pushing more elements. We'll push 6. We'll push 7. And now look at the initial implementation. Look, we tried to create a vector, right? And initially, if you have seen it, as soon as I created the vector, it just showed vec unknown. Okay, unknown. And we'll be discussing about this in the next section, and that is a final session that about generics. So Rust allows you to have generics in vectors, and that is the reason you do not have to like say what is the kind of element that you're going to put in the vector beforehand. You can just do it in a while. Okay, you can like what Rust does is the compiler will then understand what is the data type that you are going to use. Okay, so we'll talk about that in the next session much deeper, and don't want to waste your time right now regarding that. So this is how we push elements into the vector, and let us see what we have as an output when we just try to push these 3 elements. So v is 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that is how we push an element. Now what about pop? If we have push, then we also have pop, right? The standard convention. Let us see what happens. So now I pushed 5, 6, 7, and then I pop the last element, and the last element was 7. So it is pop from the last location. Okay, 5, 6, 7. When we call the first pop, it will pop the 7th element. So the standard function to push or insert is push and then to pop. Okay, that is it. And then we talked about push, we talked about pop. What did we miss? So what else do we have to discuss? Yeah, we need to discuss about creating or accessing an element. Okay. So let x equal to and v0. So let x equal to and v0 means I am creating a reference to my element at the 0th location. And what is the element at the 0th location? Here we have 5. Okay, so we'll write v0 is then v0. Okay, v0 is this and then v0. When we try to print this, you can see, yeah, v0 is 5. What about trying this without an and so v0 is 5. You can do it as you can also do it in such a way, but then we will pass the value to this one, right? So what about accessing the x here? Yeah, so you can access it in this way, or else you can also create in a reference. Now, the another method of accessing this one is let x equal to v dot get, and v dot get 0. Okay, so v dot get 0 means if you try to print x right now, what happens? You'll see what happens. Here it says that it cannot be formatted with the default formatter. That is because of the option, because x is obviously an option right now. And yeah, see it closer. That is v0 is sum 5, right? So there exists an element 0, but then it is sum 5. Now we can implement a match statement for this if you require, but then before that we will try to access the 12th element. And what happens now? It shows us it is done. So there is no element. Okay. And then in case if you want, then you can type match x and then type sum of y equal to println v0 is y none no such element. Okay. So what happens here is initially we tried to access the 12th element and it shows no such element rather than returning the none. Okay. So v0 is none because then we tried to implement and the second option was yeah. So this is how we use the vectors, and these are the basic operations. You have a lot of operations with vex that you should learn by yourself because we do not have much time to discuss all the concepts regarding vex. Okay. We do have a very large amount of operations using Rust, not Rust, but using vectors. Vectors are literally important for us because it does not have to know the size in prior. Okay. Now we will be discussing about, wait, just a moment. Yeah, we're discussing about strings. So what is string? So string is basically a collection of characters. Okay, it's basically a collection of characters. So you might have seen string a lot of times in this, like in these 3 sessions. So basically, that is all about string. String means your name is actually a string. Hello world is actually a string. Okay, but in Rust we do have 2 types of strings, and that is the and_str and then the string. So the and_str is actually a string slice. So it is immutable. So and_str is basically a pointer to the string that is held in heap. The problem with and_str is that and_str is immutable. Okay, so and_str is immutable. We will use a standard library string called string, which is the caps. The string starts with caps s. Okay, so it is the string and it is mutable. But then you can only create it using s equal to string from initial contents. Now, another way to create or to convert an and_str to a string is by using this toString function. Okay, so the toString function will convert an and_str to a string. Okay, so we'll see a small simple implementation of how to work with strings. We say like let s equal to hello world. I'm just going to type a string. What you see, it tries to infer the type and it is an and_str by default. So any string literal that you type by default is considered as an and_str. But then you can convert it to a string, that is this data type called string, by just adding a function called .to_string. Okay, so now you can see the data type has changed, that is s to a string, right? So it has converted to string. Okay. So if you want more operations on string to be performed, then you should be using the string data type rather than the and_str, because it allows you to edit, replace, and update, change the size, etc., with the string that you like to manipulate. Okay. And then So try to remember that you can convert and str to a string by using a toString function. And so, yeah, this is how we create a string, that is s is equal to string from hello world. This is one way of creating, and then there was another way, that is to use the toString function. To update a string in string operations, we can use the s.pushstr. Okay, s.pushstr. So the pushstr allows us to concatenate a particular and str with the string that we have created. And if you see in the second, okay, before going to the second example, I want to show you how this thing works. So first, let me create a let s equal to string from hello world. Okay, so you have created a string, and that is hello world. This is the data type of string. Now you need to pass some more words into it. What you will do is s dot push str, and there is an underscore here, push str, and you will type the string literal, that is, which is and str by default, into it. Hi there. Okay, hi there. Okay, you need to put the quotes. But now you can see that cannot mutate immutable variable s, because we haven't put the mute s here. Now it is possible for us to mutate. What it generally will creates is println. Yeah, I can just show it here right now. I cannot. Println s is yes. Okay. S is hello world, hi there. Okay, so what it does is it tried to concatenate this hi there with the s. Okay, that is what happens. So for concatenation of an and str with a string, what we will use is a push str function. And you can also do it by using s3, like for the second example, s1 is string, s2 is also a string, and s3 is equal to s1 plus and s2. It means you're going to pass the reference of the second one. Okay, note that s1 has been moved here so that it can be no longer used. So basically what we try to do is, in order to concatenate, you have multiple ways, and the three ways of concatenation of a string is explained here. The first way is to use the push str. The second way is to pass the reference of any other string rather than the first string that you're trying to pass. So if you want to push, like concatenate multiple strings like s4, s5, x6, x8, what you will do is s1 plus and s2 plus and s3 plus and s4 plus and s5. So anything after s1 should be present with an and symbol. That is, it is showing that we are only taking a reference. For complicated string operations, we will use the format macro, and that let s equal to format of s1 space s2 space s3. This means we will concatenate all these three strings with a minus symbol in between them. Okay, so now s will be returned with all these s1, s2, and s3 combined or concatenated together. So this is a format macro. Format macro is used to concatenate three or more strings together. Okay, this is the whole concept. There's three ways in which we can concatenate strings in Rust. Now, strings. So the indexing in strings. Basically, Rust doesn't allow you to index a value or a particular character in a string. And there is a reason, because in Rust, basically when you try to access an element in an array or a string, it shall be done in an O of one time. But it isn't possible to guarantee that performance with string in Rust, because Rust, I would have to walk through the contents from the beginning to index. So, well, I have not added much concepts into like why it takes more time to get to that particular location. Is basically because of the implementation. Rust allows you to type in any value like that is present in the UTF-8 encoding. The problem with the UTF-8 encoding is that you need to actually jump through the characters using these corresponding values, and hence it wouldn't like always possible for us to have constant time or of one to get or index a particular character present in the string. So in such a case, what rustaceans have developed into Rust is that, for example, you try to access a slice rather than getting a index. So let hello equal to 3, like this is some language, and then you will try to access a slice. A slice is actually an ampersand, then the substring that you need to access. In such a way, you can also try to get the required index by placing 0 to 1 or 0 to 2, like 1 to 2 or 0 to 2, you can get the corresponding indexed value that is present in this string. Okay, so what we will do is we can do indexing in string. So we will try to slice the string. Okay. Now string, how to iterate? Basically, to iterate into a string, first you need to convert it to its characters using the .chars function. Okay. So first we will generate the string, that is let s equal to string from hello. Now it has got 5 characters, that is HELLO. What you will do is for I in s.chars. S.chars means it will divide each of these. It will enumerate all these characters. Okay. Now then we can iterate over these s.chars and not by SL. So then we can print each of the elements or each of the characters present in the string. Now, if you wish to see the bytes of this character, that means each of these UTF-8 encoded characters will have its corresponding, like you would say SQL, here we'll say it's UTF-8 encoding value. And if you wish to see that, then you can use the s.bytes. So this will give you some random numbers corresponding to each of the character. Now, to replace a character, we will use the replace function. Now, in the replace function, the first location, like it can pass 2 operands. The first operand is what needs to be removed, and then the second operand is what needs to be replaced, like what it should be replaced with. Okay, so H is replaced with Y at all locations in S. So you can use the replace function to do that, which is actually more convenient. So try to learn these functions .chars, .bytes, .replace. Okay, .replace is actually similar, and .contains is also similar. If you have used Python, obviously you'll be knowing these functions. Now s.contains H means it will return true if it is actually present in it, and it will return false if it is not present in the string. So that is contains. Okay, so if H is present in the string, it will return true, else it will return false. Now it's time for a small quiz regarding strings. And yes, I'll be pushing the string part 3. I believe now you can see the questions. There are 2 questions, and try to answer it as soon as possible. You'll be given 90 seconds to do so. It's time up. We'll end the call. Here are the results. First question is, Rust has how many types of strings? 69% of answered it right, and 2 types of string, and that is and/str and string. Which of the following function can convert an and/str to string? Okay, so it is a 2-string function, that is 55% of you have got it right. That is a 2-string function. Well, 33% of have you come up with the answer 2str. I would like to say that the 2str function is actually used to convert into an and str. So a string to and str can be converted using the to str. Okay, that will close and then go to the next slide. So the next data structure or the next collection of our interest of discussion is hash maps. And what is the use of hash map? So hash map allows us to have a set of keys and a set of values so that there is a hashing function that allows us to map between these keys and values. So like the concept can be easily explained if you consider an array of 10 elements. Like say we have an array of 10 elements that you will index from 0 to 9. And you need to do a linear search, like you need to do a linear search to check whether this array contains a particular element, say 5 or not. So what you will do is you will take the value 5 and then you'll start comparing it with the 0th element. And if it is not 5, then you'll go to the next element, compare again, next element, compare again till the end of the array. Now you have reached the end of the array and there is no comparison that actually says that 5 is present in it, then you'll have a time complexity of n, which is where n is the size of the array. But hash map allows you to check whether something is present in this particular list or in a hash map with of 1 complexity. That means you just need to type in the value and it will return true or false without even iterating through the hash map. Okay, now how does it do that? So it has got a mapping function or a hashing function. You might have heard about this hashing function because Google, Facebook, like see any site. Obviously, you'll be typing your password and user. What they do is the username is kept as string, and then they will convert the password using a hash function into a hash value. Now, what is the use of converting into a hash value? So even if the password gets lost or like somebody does a data breach and these passwords get leaked, obviously your password isn't leaked, its hash value is leaked. Okay, now a hash function is literally impossible or very hard to reverse a hash function because there are, if you have learned mathematics in deep sense, and you know that there are some functions that you can reverse. Okay, there are some set of functions where you can inverse, or you do not have an inverse, or you don't have a reverse operation. You can only do it in a single, like one-way methodology. You don't have it in 2 ways. Now, the use case of this is that you still only lose the hash value. You are not losing your password, which is present in plain text. So plain text to hash conversion can be done using a hash function. We have got a lot of hash functions. It's like the reminder hash function, which is the most easiest one. But then in Rust, you have a standard implementation of a hash map, which actually implements a hash function. If you want more efficiency, then you can change the hash function too. But then, yeah, we'll be trying, or we'll be like doing our examples using the default hash function. So that is it. To create a hash map, you need to call the use std collections hash map and then let mute scores is equal. So you're going to create a hash map using the hash map new. Okay. Now, why did we make it mute? Because we need to change or we need to insert. Now, to insert a value, we are actually not going to insert a value. We'll be inserting a key value pair. Okay, a key value pair. So what happens is that whenever you need to search for a particular value, like you'll pass the key. So when you pass the key, it will check for the value. Okay. So scores.insert string from blue. That means we are going to pass blue and 10 into the hash map. Okay. Hash maps are similar to dictionaries in Python. If you have learned Python, then that's it. It is just the direct way of using hash map in C++. Scores.insert from yellow and 50. Okay. So we're passing blue and 10. We're passing yellow and 50. So how to access the value from a hash map? Now that we have inserted 2 values in our hash map, we have created a hash map, we've inserted a value into a hash map. Now, how can we access that value? So we can access that value using fn main, that is let mute h equal to this, and then we will see the value using the get function. Okay, the get function. The get function, as I have mentioned before, it will have 2 two set of values, that is the option. It is implemented using option. So we have two set of values, and that is the sum and the none. Now, if it is a sum, then you can print the contents of the sum, or if it is a none, then you can print there is no such value exist. Okay. So let x equal to h dot get George. Now you see what I have passed. I have passed the key to get the value corresponding to the key. Okay, it is always the key value pairs, the key here, the value here. And then if you pass the key, you will get the value corresponding to that key with an O of one complexity. Okay, O of one complexity. You do not have to do the linear search. All you need to do is just pass it. It is simple in case of search. Now, hash maps. So how to print the contents of a hash map? Now we have seen creating, inserting, accessing. Now how to display the contents? Well, displaying contents is simple. All you need to do is 4 key values. This is actually a tuple. So here it will access the key value, and then you need to pass an and scores. And scores means you're going to take a borrow of the scores hash map, and then you will iterate through it. That is println key value. Another simple way of just displaying it is just like println scores by using the debug macro, which is also possible. Okay, so there are multiple ways to do so. And overwriting a value. So what do you mean by overwriting a value? So initially when you pass a value to hash map, it is actually presented in the hash map. And then you will put the same key value with a different value. So look at it. You have a key called blue, and the corresponding initial value was 10. Now you have pushed it into the hash map, so it is actually present in the hash map. But then you try to insert a key called blue, which is the same key, but then with a different value. Now what happens is this: it will overwrite. It will overwrite the previous value with the corresponding new value against the same key. So at the end of the day, we will have the key value blue corresponding to the value 25, because we will overwrite as we change it again and again. Okay. At some point of time, we have the same key as that we have used before. Then obviously the newest value will be the final value that is presented in the hash map. Okay. So you can print using this debug macro. Also you can have two options. Either you can have this 4 key comma value, and this is the tuple formation, so it can access the set key comma value, and then it will try to print it by using this methodology. Or else you can use the debug macro to print the hash map. Okay. And so adding a key and value only if the key is present. So there are 3 or 2 approaches that you can take in case of hash maps. You just don't want to overwrite all the time, right? So sometimes if a value is present, then if a key is present, then you do not want to change it. Okay. Sometimes then you need to change it because it is present. So it is a priority choice. So then we will see if you have such a priority, how to implement it. Okay. So use std collections hash map, and then let mute scores equal to hash map. We are creating a new hash map, and then scores dot insert, we have placed one value, and then we will use the entry function. Okay, the entry function. So what does the entry function? So basically we are going to call scores dot entry yellow or insert 50. Now we will use the entry function, and then we'll also use the or insert 50. Okay, and then again we are going to do a scores dot entry string from blue or insert 50. Now this program inserts a key and a value for yellow, because yellow has not, like, yellow is actually present a single time in the hash map. We are not going to use the same key called yellow again, but then in case blue, we have tried to enter the blue again, right? The first time we have used the insert function, but the second time we have used an entry function to insert the blue. But as we have used an entry function, it does not change the value of blue. It tries to keep the old value of blue, that is 10. But if you were to use an insert function instead of the entry function, then obviously what happens is it will override, or it will override the previous value 10. But as you've used an entry and or insert combination, you need to remember, you need to use an entry string from blue dot or insert 50. That means if there is an entry called blue inside it, then don't do anything. Or insert the corresponding value, that is 50, against the key blue. Okay, that is what the entire statement says. You can try these examples yourself so that you can learn how to create hash map, how to print the values in hash map, and how to use the entry function so that you do not want to overwrite at each time, and how to use the insert function so that you can overwrite the previous value if you're using the same key value that has been inserted before. Okay. That being said, we'll go to a simple quiz again. And yeah, hash maps board 4. I think you can see the questions. Try attempting it. Your 90 seconds starts now. Guys, do participate in the polls. It's a easy question, so I want everyone to try the questions. I want to refresh your memory. So I don't have any questions. So yes, our time is up. The first question was the search time when we use a hash map is what? Okay, so most of you have got it. So I will share the results. Right, I will share the result. Okay, now I can see it. The search time when we use a hash map is, most of you have got it wrong. It is actually O of 1. I mentioned it as O of 1, and that is why we use a hash map, because we need to get the value as soon as we pass the key. Okay. As soon as we pass the key, we need to get the value, and the search time in case of a hash map is O of 1. That is, complexity is 1. The next question was, which of the following function is used to add a new key value pair to hash map? Yeah, most of them have got it right. It is the insert function. We will go to the second part of today's discussion, that is error handling.
So, Rishan, one question, one thing. So before you go to error handling, you can ask students if they have anything that they want you to help them understand if they have not got. I mean, that will be a logical thing.
Okay, yeah, like anyone is free to ask doubts. Please do ask doubts if you have any regarding the vectors, strings, and hash maps. Yes, those are the 3 important data structures that we have discussed today. There are also many other examples like binary search tree, BST. Like you have got a lot of data structures that you can learn by yourself if you're interested in implementing. Sir, I don't see any questions. So
yeah, sure. Yeah, please, yeah.
Okay. So we'll continue our discussion with error handling. What is error handling? So basically, when we write a code is most obliged to get errors, right? So like you divide by 0 and you try to access a value beyond the scope that you want to access it. You try to access a value like which is at index -1, or index is much greater than the length of the vector or array that you have tried to implement. In such cases, okay, somebody has a question. I suddenly went out. Okay, last rules. We will continue that discussion at the end of today's session. Mario. Rust is good. Okay, so the features that we will use in Rust to implement if something goes wrong is called as error handling. Okay, Now, Rust has got a different approach in case of error handling than most of the languages. You'll see how it does it. So Rust groups errors into two major categories, and that is recoverable and unrecoverable errors. The first one, we will discuss about these two things and how we will solve these two things. Okay. Rust doesn't have exception. Instead, it has a type result TE. Now, what is this TE? T means T is these are actually generics. T and E actually stands for the different set of values that you need to have for an OK and an error. So result is another kind of E, that has got OK and error. This is similar to option. You see, in option you have some and none, and in result you have OK and error. So OK is, if it is OK, that the operation is fine, then you can do the OK set, or else it has got something wrong, then you will do the error. Okay. What is the difference between vec and tuple? Okay, vec and tuple has got a lot of differences. First difference is that it is a dynamic array, whereas tuple you cannot. Because tuple, you need to fix the size of your tuple while you design it. Okay, and you cannot change it. That is the main difference between the vec and tuple. And moreover, tuple is immutable, vec is mutable. Okay, that is the points. Unrecoverable errors, the first point of discussion, that is Rust uses panic macro in such kind of a situation. Though Rust has got a macro called as panic, which can be used to panic your program. Okay, it is a kind of funny, right? You can use a function to panic your code, but then why would we use such a function to panic our code when our sole purpose to write a code is to not panic itself? Well, at some of these situations, we use panic to debug our code. That means we need to know where the error has literally occurred. So you can oversee some kind of a situation, but then you need to locate where such an error has occurred, right? So that is why you use a panic macro. Panic macro is mainly used for debugging, and then it allows us to know what is the location where we have got it wrong. Okay. So then there are two implementations of panic as well. The first one is panic backtrace. Panic backtrace means when a panic call comes from a library because of a bug in our code instead of our code calling the macro directly. So there are two ways you can call a panic macro. The first one is to create a mistake, an abrupt illogical mistake of yourself. That is that v equal to vec 123, sorry, 123, and then you're trying to access the 99th element, which is impossible. So what does happen? The code will panic. And what happens here is that because of the error or the error in the logic that you are trying to implement, the Rust compiler will call the panic macro and it will show a panic message into your terminal. Okay. But then the other way to call the panic is to call it yourself by using the panic macro function. That is, you can use this panic crash and burn. Okay. That is to call it explicitly. Okay. You can also do it explicitly by using the panic macro. So we just start your system and then type in panic macro crash and burn. What happens is that the program will obviously panic and it will show this crash and burn message in your terminal. Okay, so there are two methods you can actually call the panic macro. Now discuss recoverable errors. So recoverable errors are the more point of discussion, because unrecoverable errors you need to change the code in order to resolve the errors, whereas recoverable you have got some more options. How will we recover? Okay, how will we recover? Then we will use the result for such kind of errors. Result is actually an enum implementation. As you can see, the enum will have two set of fields, and that is two variants. The first one is okay, and the second one is error. Now, you do not have to concentrate much on the T and E. It means generics. Generic means you can allow those two different kinds of data type, which could be any data type allowable. Okay, any data type allowable in the means you need to implement a particular trait that allows these operations on the particular data type. We'll talk about them in the next session, so you don't have to worry about the T and E right now. Just concentrate that a result has got two fields, that is okay and error. Okay, now they have tried to explain it by using a particular example. That is, when you try to open a file and the operation fails because the file does not exist. So you have seen like in most languages, if you try to open a file in read mode, if the file doesn't exist, what they do is they just create the file. But in Rust, they don't do it. What they try to do is you might want to create a file instead by terminating. So what they do is like they don't create a file, they don't create a new file. What they will try to do is they will try to check whether it is present or not. If it doesn't, then it will panic. Okay, and in such kind of a case, we do want to handle that case, because if the file doesn't exist, then we don't want the program to panic. Then we will like try to implement a methodology that actually resolves such a situation. Okay, so we'll see how it is done. For example, see this, you need to call the use stdfs file. This is the particular package that is required to use file operations. That means to open a file, to read a file, to write into a file, etc, etc, etc. So stdfs file, and then you create let greeting file result is equal to file open hello.txt. So it is trying to open a file called hello.txt, which should be present in the directory in which we have the main.rs. Okay. Okay, directory means it should be present in the SRC, but then it should be present in the same project as you have the main.rs. Okay. Now let greeting file result equal to file open hello. So we are trying to open a file called hello.txt, and let greeting file is equal to match greeting file result. Okay. Then okay file, return file, error, then return panic, that is problem opening the file. Now let us see what happens here. So let greeting file is actually the required file that we need to open. What we do is we will try to implement a result here by creating the result, that is match greeting file result, and then we will create the enum by opening the braces, and then we will type the two set of values it is possible, so it can automatically understand that is the result data type. Now we will write okay, and we'll pass the file. So file is the pointer corresponding to the file if it is present. So like say that the file hello.txt is present in your directory. There will be a pointer that points to this particular location heap, right? And it will be returned, and that will be the file. Okay. So in case of okay file, you can say you return the file. What in the else? So else condition, you need to print the error, and error you need to like error and then panic. So basically you can have multiple implementations, or the other like you could just use a println to show the error, or then you can use the panic, just panic and then locate the problem opening the file, and you can use the error. Okay, so that is how you work upon by using the result enum, and result enum helps us in doing the error handling functions. I have two options, that is the okay and the error. Okay means okay, everything is fine, we can return it. Else what should we do, whether we should panic or we should print the message into the screen, etc, etc, etc. So this is one of the safest methods you can apply, so that you don't want to panic it someday. So why have we used the panic here then? Basically to locate the version, you can use the println as well. So that is the different implementations are possible. You can also use a result by having the match statement, match, then give match result. Okay gives this one, error gives this one. So that's it. You can also do it with the match statement, and that is how we have tried to do it here. That is a match reading file. Okay, I believe you have got the point here. Now file open hello.txt is actually implemented in the result by default, and that is why we are actually trying to do the match reading file result. Okay. So the result is okay. This code will return the inner file value out of the okay variant, and we then assign that file handle value to the variable greeting file. After that match, we can use the file handle for reading or writing. Okay. This file handle is basically the pointer, and then we can use this pointer to read or write the values into corresponding files. Now, one such function that we can use for the result data type, that is okay variant or the error variant, is the unwrap, but it is not advised to use the unwrap. Let me say why. Because unwrap is really good in the case of okay. What it does is whatever is present inside the okay, it will return the okay. Okay. But then what happens in case of an error? unwrap will call panic, because as soon as it tries to open, unwrap means it's like unwrapping a gift. Like sometimes it's a birthday gift, and you'll have a mesmerizing memory of getting a gift if it is okay. What about if it is a prank? You would see a snake inside this gift box, and you would panic. And that is the similar situation happening with the unwrap. That is, if it is okay, then you're happy and it's working, it is nice. But then what about the panic? The panic happens when you try to unwrap an error variant. Okay. So sometimes you really don't want to panic, and that is why we don't use the unwrap in most of the cases. Rather, we would prefer another function called as accept. Why we would use that? Because it gives us more data regarding what is the error. I have used accept in when I was explaining to you in today's session regarding the taking user input from the terminal. Okay, so that is a context where we will use the expect to parse or like to take input, etc., where you can also use the unwrap there, but then it is not safe to use the unwrap in such kind of scenarios, as it panics the entire code. Okay, so this is an implementation of how you can use the unwrap. Just let greeting file equal to file open and unwrap. Simple. That is it. Now, in case of accept, I want you to remember that accept method let us choose panic error message. So we can create and generate an error message into the terminal. Using accept instead of unwrap and providing good error messages can convey your intent and make tracking down the source of panic easier. So it is literally easy for us to debug the code if you are using expect. Similar implementations, my friend, let greeting file equal to file open and then just dot expect and type in what you need to show. Type in what is the error message that you need to show. Okay. Now you have unwrap and accept. But then what will you use in case of unwrap and accept? So we are most interested in to use accept. Why? Because it gives us more data regarding the error. So most frustrations choose accept rather than unwrap to give more context about the error. And that is why it is literally helpful in debugging the code as well. And now the next thing is propagating errors. So what is propagating errors? Is basically, now that when you try to call a function, it tries to resolve the error within the function, right? So let me say I'm going to create a function called divide by 0. And inside this function, I'm going to divide by 0. But then the problem is I need to implement all the safety requirements or the error handling mechanisms in this divide by 0 itself. But what if I do not want to do such things inside the function? I would prefer to use such implementations in my main function, where I would call this function, right? So in such a case, we need to propagate the error to the main function. And in such scenarios, we will use the question mark. Okay, the question mark operator to propagate the error. Don't misconfuse this question mark operator with most other implementation, like in case of C and C++, we have got this question mark for the ternary operator, but here we are using it to propagate the errors. Okay. So when a function implementation calls something that might fail, instead of handling the error within the function itself, you can return the error to the calling code so that it can decide whatever to do. Okay, that is clear, right? No, this is known as propagating the error. Propagating means transferring the error to the main function so that main decide what should we do with this particular error, right? Now use stdfs file. You're trying to use the self and read to read a string from a file. So let mute username user file equal to hello. So we are going to create a variable that is opening the file hello.txt. Now see the function read username from file. It tries to return a result, and that is a string and IO error. So if the result is okay, then you will return a string. Or if it is an error, then you will print the IO error, and then obviously the code will panic. Okay. So let mute username file equal to file open hello.txt. Let mute username equal to string dot. So what we're trying to do is, first you create a mute username file and then you're trying to open the file. Hello.txt is present or not present, we'll work with it. And that is where you've added the question mark. Question mark means if it is an okay, then return the string. If it is not an okay, then return the IO error. So, okay. So anything that is returned is then handled in the main function because we'll call this read username in the main function only. Okay. Now let mute username is string.new and then username file we are calling the read to string. That means read to string the contents that are actually present in the file. Okay. Username file will contain the pointer. Now we have got the file's pointer. Now we will read the string. So the contents of the entire file is then read to string and it is passed to the string. That the string that we have used here is the username string. Now in obvious case, we want to return the OK username. That means normal cases, that means if username file does not give us an error, it gives us a particular pointer to the file, then what happens is that you can return the corresponding username by reading the username. But then what happens if there is no such file? It will return the IO error. And this is possible because of using the question mark. The question mark allows you to choose OK or error accordingly. According to the situation it matches it with. Okay, now then it can also be used to pass this error into the main function. Okay, so the value of the result is an OK. The value inside the OK will get a return from this expression and the program will continue. The value is an error, then the error will be returned from the old function as if we had used the return keyword. So the error value gets propagated to the calling code. Okay, that's the whole concept. I believe you got the concept. The value inside the OK will be returned in by using the question mark if it is an OK. But if it is an error, then the error will be passed into the main function and you need to handle it. Okay, is there any question? With I saw someone raising their hands. Is there any question? Please do send the questions in the chat or in the Q&A so that we can resolve it. Yes, so we'll be discussing the next important thing, that is custom type for validation. So sometimes you have got these most easy implementations of error handling, like division by zero, arithmetic errors, file opening errors, etc., null pointers, and etc. But then you want to create your custom validation. What about, like, you want to say the age shouldn't be greater than 5 for applying a particular job, like for a particular course. Like say for this course, I don't know whether you have an age limit or not, but then what if I need to create a validation? I'm going to say, like, okay, only people who are aged above 18 should attend the course. And yeah, so I can create such validations by creating custom validation types. Okay, so that can be possible by using a struct and implementation and then returning the object. So let us see what we are trying to do here. We have tried to create a guess struct, and then it has got a field called value, which is I32. Now we are implementing some functions for this struct. The first function that we try to implement is a new function. New function means it will create a new object, right? You remember the vec new, the string new, etc. So I want to create a new guess. How is that possible? So we will implement pub fn new. It will return a guess. Guess is actually the type that the struct has. Now, if value is less than 1 or if the value is greater than 100, so this is our condition. Panic and guess value must be less. Well, value will be between 1 and 100. Okay, and we will return the value. So what happens if I try to pass 10,000 here? If I try to pass 10,000, it will panic and it will show this corresponding message. Else, I would like to return the object. Object means the object of the struct, guess, and then with the corresponding value. Okay. And we also have a function called fn value and self, which returns the value. Now we will see how it is being used. Okay. So here we define a struct named guess. We have explained all these things. And what we will try to do is we will try to return the guess value. Okay. So whenever you try to call this inside the main function, if it is an error, that means if the value is less than 1 or if the value is greater than 100, then it will generate this guess value. In other case, it will generate a panic. So once you are going to call this in the main function and you'll try to pass a value to the guess object, then obviously these kind of errors will be generated. So try creating such kind of an example validation in your program. What you need to do is create a struct, put a value, then say create an IMPL, and now after doing such things, try to create an object. That means in the main function you will be doing let g is equal to guess new, and then you can pass a value. So try passing 5, and obviously now as you've tried passing 5, it will work. So it will return the object. If not, what happens? You try to pass the 10,000, and obviously it will return an exception. So the code will panic. I believe you got the entire point. So as soon as you try to create an object, these operations will happen. Okay. Now it's time for the another quiz, and I think this is the last quiz for our session. Not like as Devak said last time. So you do have another quiz. So it is the last polls for today. So custom types or validation poll 5, and you will be given 90 seconds. Please start answering right now. Got 2 easy questions. Okay, the time's up. I'll share the results with you. The first question is expect gives more information than unwrap and entries more. Yes, you got it right. 71%. Nice. We use the result or to handle the recoverable error situations. Yeah, you got it right as well. The answer is 71%. You got it right. It is true. Okay. Now discuss the summary. That is what we have discussed in the entire session. We have discussed about mainly 2 concepts. That was the collections and then the error handling features. And error handling features will help us to write more robust code. And we have seen the 2 different kinds of errors. That is the unrecoverable, where we use the panic macro, and for recoverable, where we try to use the result. And the result have 2 options. That is to have OK or error. And we have seen 2 other functions related to this, and that is the unwrap and expect. Okay. So then, so that is the entire data that we'll be sharing for today. I want you to practice regarding the collections and try learning other collections as well. That is a bit, we have got another trees, etc. trees, and a lot of hash map implementations. Also, I want you to see other collections as well, and also try implementing error handling in your code from today. So that will help you a lot, because whenever you try to create a new object, or when you try to exercise with some of the new program, try to implement the error handling use case scenarios, so that you'd be more practicing more into writing code that actually matters. That means it is more safe. You can create a more safe code, and hence it is a formal way of writing codes is to see all these kinds of errors and then implement corresponding implementations for the errors as well. So that's how we start with, and do try implementing error handling in your next examples when you try code in Rust. that is all I have to share for today. And thank you guys. Thank you for bearing with me. I will. Okay. If you have any questions, do ask. So can you briefly re-explain about the hash map? Okay. Well, so basically, Deepak Singh would like to answer this question live. Okay, if Deepak is answering, then it won't be a problem.
It's okay, Rishi, we can address it if you would like to.
Okay, then I will address it. Then yeah, hash map is basically allowing us to create a set of keys and a set of values. Okay. So basically, it is similar to an array, but then it is not an array. You will pass a key value pair. It means you will pass blue and then its corresponding value to be 10. For example, you will pass your name and you will have your roll number right next to the. So it is a combination of key value pair. So I'm going to pass, what is your name, bro? Okay, the Q&A went off. Okay, I'm going to pass Rishin and then my value is 10. Okay, into the hash map. In a similar case, I need to pass the string and the corresponding values, that is the key value pairs into the hash map. The use case of hash map is that it allows me to access a value by passing the key with an O of one complexity. Of one complexity means whenever I pass like H or the hash map dot get Rishin, it will return the value 10 as soon as I type it. Okay. So it doesn't take much time. It doesn't take time at all, and that is off one. So it uses a special hash function to check whether it is actually present in it or not. And if it is present, then it will return the value. Else it will return none.
Yeah. So Rishin, can I add to this? And please correct me if I am off here. So if you are trying to do this in an array condition, then you are forced to go, by each value, for example, 0, 1, 2 kind of thing, right? But if you are doing hash map, then you can go and pick any key value pair. For example, if you have got a business requirement in which you have to go and store key value for 0, then the next key is 7, then next key is 45. You cannot do that in array, because if you do that in array, then you also have to have, all those rows in between, which you don't need that basically, right? So the mapping, hash mapping or mapping concept gives you an ability where you can go and save those redundant rows in between which you don't need, kind of thing.
Yes, it saves a lot of space and it is also fast. So it is also used in SQL and all of the databases that you use.
Yeah, and in fact, Solidity also has very similar concept, which is called mapping, and they do the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Varun sir, for writing the content. So yeah, I think now the doubt is clear, right? Feel free to ask any other doubts. And today's session has been concluded.
Right. So Rishin, thank you so much for this wonderful and insightful session. I'm sure for the students, there's a lot to take in. And at the same time, there is so much technicalities to the subject that students, as Rishin has already said, and Praveen sir has already also addressed, you need to go and practice as much as possible, because that's how you will be able to improve your skills, because theory is one side, but in the practical, you need to go and test all that you have learned. At the same time, I would request Deepak Chaudhary, our expert here, to just share the quiz and assignments for the day in the chat. So guys, as you know, it will be open until the next session. The quiz will be open for next 1.5 hours, but the assignment will be open until day end of Sunday, right? And another very important thing that we want to address today is about your registrations, right? So all the people who have already registered on events.ibc.media, what you need to do is that most of you have not been able to add the team members, which is extremely important, because otherwise we won't know who the team members are, and their database will not be in our system, and that will be a problem during the certification process, and also during the builder process, and also for some extremely important sessions coming up, sponsor sessions coming up, which Praveen sir will be discussing in the next minute. So just make sure that you go and you write down the details of the team members who are participating, who are in your team. That is mandatory. You all have to do it. Secondly, to all the students who may have joined us for the first time, or have joined in but have not yet registered their team members to on the platform. I'll just share the link. So you need to go and you need to register yourself and your team here. So it's a very simple process. It will take 2 to 3 minutes. You go if you haven't signed up, just go and sign up quickly. It'll take a minute, and then 2.5 minutes for filling in the details where you'll write about yourself, your team members, how many you have to be a member of a team of 3 people. If you don't have the teams, then just jump on our Discord server and we will help you add people in your team. But make sure that all of you have registered yourselves or your teams on the platform. One person in the team has to go and add the details of himself or herself along with the details of their team members. There will be an option of adding the teams. Just make sure that you go and you add the details there. Yeah, on the same note, I would request Praveen sir also to shed some light and the importance of the teams, especially for the soon upcoming sponsor sessions. Praveen sir.
Yeah, thanks, Deepak. I think Dinesh Chaudhary has got some issue with the assignment, and please take a look at that and let's
Yes, sir,
try
will
to
do.
help him. Yeah. So, guys, the team is important because right now, if we really have seen the journey we have done so far, we started with the blockchain, the very basic of blockchain, how what exactly does it mean to talk when we talk about blocks. We talked about transactions. We talked about various other concepts. We also talked about the front end piece and how do we get an access to the blockchain infrastructure from the front end, and how exactly do these businesses work, right? I mean, if you whenever you talk about a business, then it has got a core business principle, which in our case will be stationed in the blockchain. We will also have some web 2 infrastructure, and we'll have a lot of front end infrastructure, correct? We also talked about some of the things which are very important from the perspective of the storage. We talked about few other things such as oracles. Now we have spent a lot of time understanding the Rust programming language. Thanks to Rishin for doing such a wonderful job in trying to break things up for you so that it becomes easier for you to appreciate. While we have done all of that, there would be, I believe, one more session which is remaining, Deepak Singh, after this.
Yes, sir. On 21st, we have another Rust session.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, on 24th, guys, which is
24th.
Monday, we have another session.
Yeah, absolutely. So now the point is that after we have covered this, I would still request all of you to spend as much time as possible. See, these programming languages are, like I said earlier, this is not like you do once and leave it. You need to make this a way of your life, make this a part of your life, right? And that's how you kind of gain expertise. Rust is a pretty complicated and complex programming language as such, and it really has got several benefits for and that's where it is being used in many of the blockchains. I mean, you name blockchain and it is being used, such as Aptos, Solana, Polkadot. There are many such. Okay. What we are trying to do here is that once we are done with this, then we will have a series of lectures after this particular, when the Rust ends. Okay. And I am sure Deepak Singh will share with you the plan. These sessions are going to be from directly from the companies, the sponsors, and those things will be very, very important. Now, in next few days, what we are going to be doing, we will be working with our sponsors and the team. You all will be assigned a particular sponsor. And if you remember, if you have not attended that particular session in which I was talking about various rewards and grants that is going to be given to you, please go and watch that particular video which is there in our YouTube channel right now. IBC Media's YouTube channel. So take a look at that. Okay, what I'm trying to say here is that I want all of you to spend a lot of time. First of all, of course, in understanding these things. At the same time, you also should be having your team formed, because unless you have your teams formed, you will not be able to participate in those exercise and processes. And those things are very important from two perspectives. Whatever sponsor you get assigned, okay, you will be getting a wonderful opportunity to work in that particular environment. What I really mean that there are 3 stages of assignments which have been given by all of three of our sponsors, and and they are going to be taking you through journey in a very, very progressive manner. Okay, what I mean by progressive is that you start with your stage 1, the step 1, in which you go and try to explore the field, explore the SDK, explore the environment. And by doing that, you will definitely be getting a lot of idea about the environment. At the same time, if you complete that successfully, first few people would be getting some grants or rewards. Okay, now once we allocate your sponsors, that Deepak Singh will be coming back to you very soon, you could start working on that, right? Once you do a stage 1 and then you go to stage 2, stage 2 will have little more complicated. It will challenge you little more, so that you are a better developer if you have done stage 2, right? Now, if you do stage 2, your prize amount for your team increases there. Now it goes up. Okay. And of course, many more things you will be. And the beauty here is that you will be guided, you will be helped by IBC Media and the sponsors in all these journeys. It may happen that, say, for example, the first 10 teams are being given the reward in stage 1, and you came as 11th team, for example. Does not matter, because in stage 2, which has got a higher award, you could work hard and you can come in the next whatever number of top rewards which are being given there. Okay, now once you do a stage 2, then you go to stage 3, in which it will definitely challenge you to your core, solving some problems which are basically, which will definitely make you to push you towards perfection. Right now, once you are doing that, and there, of course, the number of people who will be doing that, less people will be getting rewarded or grant as compared to stage 1 and stage 2, but the amount becomes significant there. Okay, now once you are done with that, we are also looking at some of these people, some of you guys who are excellent across these sponsors. We will be pushing you towards helping you, and pushing you towards building your own product in a much more scaled manner, for example, right? What you're building here is MVP, which is pretty limited in function, but then we would encourage you. We will be, in fact, IBC Media, along with the sponsors, we will be giving you grants to build your product and platform. All these journey, and of course, after that, we are going to be choosing Super 30. There are many things which are going to happen, but all those things will be meaningful, and that will be applicable to you only if you have registered yourself and you have got a team. The team is expected to be of 3 people. One, you, and then you have got 2 more people who are part of your team. And as a team, you will be definitely, making progress. So do not take this lightly, what Deepak Singh was talking about. Deepak, do you really want to share some information? Where do they need to go and do that? I think that will be helpful.
As to the portal registration, sir,
Yes. So where exactly you
Yeah,
want them to register, right?
Yeah. So guys, let the link with you all. Let me just share my screen and give you a quick outlay. Just a second.
Yeah. And if you have your friends who have not done that, please go and do that, because once you see, the sponsor assignment will be done in next few days. If you have not registered, then you already have missed the bus, right? So I would want you all to make sure that in next one day, okay, today and tomorrow, try to make sure that your team is complete, 3 people. Okay. And then of course, Deepak Singh will be asking you some more information about your GitHub, etc., etc. Then I'll let Deepak drive that. But I definitely want to ensure that you have not missed on the registration and your team formation. Okay. And we will be sharing this information in the Discord as well. I want my Discord team to share this information in Discord and let people know. And if you have got any questions, if you have got any issue while you are using this platform, please feel free to reach out to us on Discord so that we will help you getting that done. Deepak, all yours.
Absolutely, sir. So, guys, it's pretty simple, right? The emphasis that we are trying to put here is the reason is that you need to be excited because the rewards are extremely exciting. I mean, there are thousands of dollars out for grabs, and you just have to go and build. And it's not like we are just throwing you in the tunnel or a well and just asking you to swim, right? It's not even like that. We are hand-holding you. We are guiding you with workshops from our sponsors, by our own experts, by other global experts. So we are there with you along the way, right? Even if you face a challenge with while you're building the project, apart from the session time, you have Discord, and we are already, as you know, we are active on that, and we help you in every possible manner. So you need to take this a little more dedicatedly, because it's not just about winning the prizes. I mean, when you win it, you put yourself out there, and the experience that you get in this entire process is next to none. I mean, you're not going to get it anywhere for free. And we are not just asking you to come and build. I mean, we are educating you, and none of it involves the cost. And we have gone to such an extent, and thanks to our sponsors who have put in so much effort and so much, I would say, trust in the Indian, in the IBC and the Indian technical education ecosystem, that they want, and they want to see some amazing products coming out of this batch of students who are working with us. So just make sure that you put that certain amount of effort which gets you out there, and this will be, trust me, it will be incredible for your careers, and it will just change your life around. Just imagine in the next couple of months you have a project in your hand that you have built by yourself in the blockchain world, and compared to where you have been before that, in, like, let's say 2 months before, where were you, right? So the entire journey, when you look at it, it's just, I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, it would be even more fascinating for you, but for us at IBC, I mean, we would just look at you and would be crazy. I mean, we would be super excited to see you win, create projects and win grants and get internships. And uh, we actually want to see sponsors running around you people and just, eager to hire you or give you internships or give you an opportunity to do more in the DAP or the project that you build. So just, it's super exciting. You just need to put a little focus and a lot of hard work, and that's all we are expecting from you, right? Okay, so let me just come back to the point which we were.
Yeah, so Deepak, one more thing I want to say here, that while there are, of course, a lot of rewards that I talked about, Deepak Singh has talked about, and he'll be showing you how to do that, the registration process. There is another thing that, we are thinking from IBC Media, that top few teams, I'm not sure how many, maybe 5 teams or 10 teams, if you have got some wonderful idea, we want to bet on you, and we want to, we want to commit to you some grant if you commit to us that you are going to be building it. So what I'm trying to say is that if you have some good idea, of course, for that also you need to start with the team, and you need to have a wonderful idea, and don't start thinking of building, Amazon kind of product on day one. That doesn't happen. But then you need to have MVP, and then you need to build on that. If you are committed to building something meaningful, I am promising on behalf of IBC Media that I'll be pushing for some special grants for some people, of course, who take this initiative, and I definitely want to see your commitment to that. Okay, so that's Deepak. That's what I wanted to say.
Absolutely. So I mean, just in those TV ads, they say, that dono haath mein laddu. I mean, you just it's like bounties sailing all over you, and you just have to jump and grab it. And the jumping is just the learning aspect, the knowledge grabbing aspect that you have to uh, grab onto in this entire process. All right. So I mean, I am excited. I just hope that you guys are able to comprehend and understand what we are speaking about here. This is just going to be massive if you are able to just cling onto it and just create something amazing by yourself by putting in the effort, right? Okay, so the first step that you have to do is to go and register. If you haven't registered, guys, understand, if you don't have 3 members in your team, that is fine. We will help you in that. But you need to tell us that you don't have a 3-member team. And how will we know that? We will know that by your registration process. So you have to go and register yourself. Okay, like in the link here, I have already put this link in the chat box. When is the last day to submit the idea? So idea submission is not started yet. Right now, we will be discussing more about your team formation. And once the Rust session comes to an end, then we'll be talking about the sponsor track. We'll come into that. So idea you can take, we will come to the track allocations that we'll be doing. If you have already been allocated a track, well and good, you will be continuing on the same. But if you haven't been allocated a track, then we'll be doing that for you. So right now, our focus is for you to make sure that you register yourself in our ecosystem, right? So you have to go and register on this platform. How do you do that? It's simple. I've shared the link with you, events.ibc.media. You have to go and just apply now, right? Let me just show it to you. Okay, is my internet down? Okay, I think I'm already in. Okay, right. So I'll have to log in again. My session has expired. So, okay. So before login, if you haven't signed up yet, just go and sign up. It's a simple, typical process that you have to go through for 30 seconds. You just go verify your email and simply jump onto the login process, right? So my email is deepak@ibc.media. And my password is blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I've already given this demonstration a couple of times. That's why it's showing view application for you. The button would be apply here, or so all you need to do is go and enter your personal details, right? It's simple, your name, your email, your contact, and your country, state, city, and about yourself. If you want to put your social links, well and good. And then you enter your professional details over here. You'll put your college name, your domain, technology that you are interested in. Right now, we are working on blockchain, so we'll use that. If you have experience, well and good, you can put that, or otherwise you can just say 0. So this is a skills page where you'll talk about your skills, what you know, what you don't know. I mean, mostly on what you know. And let's say you can't code, or you can code a bit, or you can code nicely, or let's say you can code very well. So it's kind of an ascending order tracker. You can choose whichever suits you, and whatever skills and languages you are aware of. So it gives us an idea as to how we will progress with you while we are into this building process. Okay, so this is one of the most important aspects. Let's say you as an individual are here and you have a member of 3 people, right? So you'll go and you'll choose the option as hacker with a team. If you are a single member and you are looking for team members, so you'll go and you'll put solo hacker looking for a team. And if you have, let's say, 2 members in your team and you're looking for a 3rd member, then you'll say hacker with a team recruiting more members, because you need more members. So what this basically does, you don't have an option solo hacker who doesn't need a team. This does not apply to you. This applies to the developers who are out there and building with us. So right now we are in the education ecosystem, so we'll be sticking to these 3 options over here. So over here, as you see, hacker with a team recruiting more members is the option that you would choose. Let's say if you have 2 members. So this gives us the data that you need people, right? So you go next, and then you put your team name, the number of people you have in your team, all right? And then you can choose any of the options over here, social media, email, website, or wherever you came to know about us, your motivation, and any other thing you want to add. Let's say you are a member of 3 people, right? So you'll just go here and add the number 3. You won't be choosing 4 or 5 because we are sticking to 3-member teams. So you can choose 1, 2, and 3. If you are 1, we will help you with other 2 members, like I discussed in the previous page. If you are 2, we'll help you with another member. We will be helping you in the team formation process. You do not have to worry about that, right? Okay. Going to next page. Right. So here is an example of what you have to do. I've already tested it with some of my friends. So let's say I have 3 members here, right? Let's say this does not have, and for you it will not show, you wouldn't have added your team member, so it won't show. Some of you have already done that. I mean, you have been able to complete the entire process, and kudos to you, but most of you have just left it. I mean, that's not how it exactly works. Even though you have chosen the option of 2 members or 3 members, you have left it blank. So guys, you have to understand that your team members data is not with us. How will we know that they are also the people who will be open to accept grants? Right, when we are giving the grants to you, the incentives to you for building, for completing challenges, we need to know who we are sharing the information to. Right, we'll be reaching out to you. There will be a process involved in this entire in this entire process itself. So we need to have your information in our platform. So if you as a person, whoever is registering, you need to put the details of your team members. In this case, let's say I would put.
So Deepak, can I intervene here?
Absolutely, sir, please.
Yeah, so one thing which is important here is this team information that Deepak is talking about is very important. 2 reasons, of course, without which you cannot proceed with the journey. The second thing, which is also equally important or more important, is that once we have, say, for example, assigned a sponsor to you, we will be displaying your progress of work, your commitment, your achievements to the sponsor directly. Now, this could be Polkadot, this could be Chingari, or this could be Unique Network. Now, when you have directly working with them, then there are a lot of opportunities which could come your way when you are doing a fantastic job there. So one of the things that we take pride in that, we connect you to the industry. And if you are not part of the whole journey, then anyway, you are not anywhere. Understand the risk part here. But if you are a part of this journey, then what really happens, sorry, then you will be exposed to these fantastic blockchain companies, and you have got the whole sky where you can go and impress them. They could provide you, they can assign you some work, they could potentially hire you. Right. So the point what I'm trying to explain here is that this is very, very important process. I want all of you, and Deepak, please pass this information in our Discord. I want everybody to be completing their registration plus team formation process within next 1 day, starting today.
Yeah. So guys, I mean, I totally agree with what you have said here, sir. And secondly, I've also shared with our Discord manager that we need to push the agenda of team formation, because although we have addressed it multiple times, we need to be sure that people don't miss out. And guys, it's a low hanging fruit for you. I mean, it's just out there and you just have to go and grab it. And that's the minimum that you have to do. You at least jump. So here, jump is synonymous to working hard, and you'll be able to do wonders. I mean, just imagine building a project in blockchain, completing challenges, getting grants, getting incentives, getting tokens. I mean, it's phenomenal. You have to be amazed on how incredible this entire process is. And it's just so simple. It's straightforward. You have all the information right in front of you. All you need to do is just go and follow the due process and the due hard work that needs to be done. Right. Okay, I'll come back to this team formation. So the team details that you need to put, if you choose, let's say you choose the number of people. So you go and add the details of yourself and your team members. You have already given your the details of yourself. So you can go and add the details of your team members. You go and put their names, their contact and their email, and just click on add, and the details get added, right? Similarly, let's say if my team has 3 members, so I'll take another member's name. So let's say Abhishek Pitti, put their contact, put the email. This is just a test email, and add. So this is how IBC will come to know that, okay, in Deepak Singh's team, we have Praveen Thakur and we have Abhishek Pitti. So total, there are 3 people. This is a 3 people team. And once they complete the project, once they complete the sponsor challenges, these are the people who will be open for grants. Once they complete the certain stages of each of these challenges, they will be eligible to get the grants, and they will be getting the grants. So if their details are not there, IBC would not know who you are working with. So that is extremely important and the most important part of this entire exercise, guys. And not just that, don't just stick to your own information. I know a lot of you are super excited about this process. And so all those who are completely involved, who have just done everything that sir has asked since Chennai or since the start of CEP, try to relay this message to other friends in your college, in your institute, in your circle, in your hostel. Ask them to come and participate and do this. Even if they have not been with us in the start, that's fine. They can come, and if they're ready to, if they're equally dedicated like you all, they can definitely come and learn. Isn't it, Pramit sir? Even if they start now, there's nothing holding them back to learn.
No, absolutely.
They,
And
yeah.
and especially, what we have done, we have uploaded all these videos, on our playlist YouTube channel. And if somebody is committed, there are 4 or 5 sessions, of 1.5 hours each, 7 to 8 hours. And in fact, if I watch something, I always watch at 1.5 speed or 2 times. It is just 4 to 5 hours of watching, right, and then practicing. So I think I agree with Deepak that, if you have somebody who is promising, who wants to get into, feel free to invite them and make a part of your team. Don't restrict to only people, those who have been part of the session so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can be part of your team. They can come up and create their own teams. The point is that we want you and your friends and people in your circle to understand that here's an opportunity to change your entire career. And it's just lying in front of you. All you need to do is just to go and pick it up. It's just so straightforward. So I want to convey to all the people who have been extremely dedicated to this entire process. I know all of you are. So just go and tell your friends also that you can come and create a team and just be accessible and be eligible to get massive grants. I mean, if you build a project, if you do something amazing, if you complete challenges, who's going to win? You are, right? So try to put in the hard work, try to connect to other people and try to get them also. If you are looking for a team, well and good. If you already have a team, you have friends, you can just go and ask them to join and be eligible for grants. We have massive pool of grants. Trust me, once you start building, you will be surprised. I promise all of you, all the students who are putting in the work that we are asking you to, you are going to be surprised in the next month. By the next month, that you will be surprised with how much we have to offer, our sponsors have to offer to all the people who are actually putting in their energy and work in this entire process. All right, so here's how you add the team, and the next process is fairly simple. You choose a track. If you have been already allotted a track, well and good. If you haven't, then just go and choose one of the tracks, and we will be and so if we have space in that particular track, then we'll definitely let it go as it is. But if the track vacancy has been full, then we'll try to allot a different track to you. All that will be communicated to you, but the most important part being that you go and register in this entire process. And you don't need to go and proceed to idea submission, because this is a process that will come to later on. So as of now, you just go register your team, enter the details of your team members, and choose the track, and then you put the theme. Or you can I mean, if you have already been given a track, then well and good. If not, then as I said, we will allot the same to you, and you just go here and register your track interest and exit. It's simple, guys. It takes 3 minutes. I'm explaining it to you, so it takes a lot of time, but when you just start doing it, it takes 2.5 to 3 minutes from the sign up process to the end. I hope in all of this you have not missed on I mean, even if you have missed on the quizzes, don't worry, we will extend the time. So let's say from now on, it's close to 9:20 right now. We'll keep it open till 11. So do not fret. The quiz links will be open till 11. you can go and you can start registering right away. So you have ample of time to do that. Any questions regarding the registration process, guys? Please feel free to ask. If you have any doubts regarding this team or tracks, then please feel free to connect or drop in a query right here. Okay, I don't see any questions, which is a good sign. Because I know we have already discussed this a lot of times, but the importance is such that we want to make sure that all of you remain committed to this process in case you have missed it. So Praveen sir, if there's anything else you would like to add to this conversation, otherwise we are very good to go. We had a great session today. We had a great conversation before we started the session, and obviously now with this team discussion, it has been a complete package. Anything else you would like to add?
No, thank you. And learn hard, party hard. Have a great weekend. Happy Eid, and we'll see you on 24th.
Absolutely. Guys, we'll see you on 24th, same time. Don't forget to register your teams and add the details of your team members. Guys, it's a very simple thing. If you're missing on it, then it'll create a lot of logistical problem for you also. I mean, your team members will miss out on a lot of things. And at the same time, make sure that you connect and share the same details with your friends, because they might also get an opportunity to win big. And at the same time, build with us. That's the most important takeaway from this, all of the exercises that we are doing here. Once again, guys, thank you so much. And thank you so much, Rishin. Thank you so much, Deepak Chaudhary. Thank you so much, Deepak Gudem. And Praveen sir, of course, thank you for this, for the inputs that you have shared with all of us today. Guys, have a great day ahead. Sorry, I think it's night. Have a great night ahead. Have a great weekend. And see you all on Monday, 24th. At the same time, as always, 7 p.m. If you are interested in some lighthearted conversations, or you want to come and speak to us, then just try to join like 10-15 minutes before the session begins. Praveen sir will be here most probably, and we'll have a conversation with you there as well. So thank you, everyone. Have a great night. See you all soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.